Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unlocked, where we talk about unlocking the potential of you, the people you work with, and the people you do life with. At the time of this recording, I'm offering all of you, yes, my lovely listeners, a free 15-minute communication coaching call. You come with some kind of communication problem, and I give you a solution. My calendar link is in the show notes, so check that out. Have you ever been talking to somebody and they start talking about like cushy love stuff when you're working with them in business or a new project? Probably not as often as we actually, would think. Steve Farber is a huge fan of the word love, and he's not afraid of saying it in a corporate business environment because you know what his claim is? We all say it all the time. And we talk about that in this interview and how love is just, it's good business. And when we start to embrace that idea that it's always been around, we talk about the heart, we talk about passion, we talk about all these things, but we don't talk about the L word as much. I think your perspective is going to change, and it is already kind of changing in the workforce today. Steve Farber is ranked on Inc.'s Global Top 50 Leadership and Management Experts. Steve Farber is a Wall Street Journal and US Today bestselling author and CEO of the Extreme Leadership Institute, an organization devoted to creating award-winning culture and radical results. They've helped over 25 companies achieve best place work status through these methods. His work, this first book that he wrote, so he's on his sixth book now. He's getting ready to write his sixth book. I don't get it, but his first book, The Radical Leap, personal lesson in extreme leadership, was named one of the 100 best business books of all time. And you know what? We got a little surprise for you at the end. So listen up for that in regards to that. It's actually the 20th anniversary of that book. And it's still relevant today, and we've got a little gift for you. His fourth book, Love is Just a Damn Good Business, was listed by Book Authority as a top business strategy book. This is going to be a really, really powerful interview, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So here we go. Steve, so good to have you, man. Welcome.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, I reminiscing having you on the show. It was 2020. I guess it had to have been right before COVID happened. We probably all had COVID sitting in that room together
Right.
as I heard you speak for the first time. And I remember being in that room going, this dude has a message that I think is pretty legit. And then it took me 4 years to get you on the show. So thanks, man.
Well, yeah, I remember that event, and it was like, might be a slight exaggeration to say minutes before the world shut down. It was maybe a week.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
I was looking at my calendar going, March of 2020? Like it was
yeah.
in full effect, man. And we just
I know, and it seems like yesterday, and it seems like ages ago at the
it
same
does.
time.
It
It was
does.
just we were just
Well,
heading into that wormhole,
that's it.
for a
The
few years.
wormhole. The wormhole. Tell us what you've been up to since then. What are you doing? What are you pounding the world with right now?
Yeah, so I've been in the field of I guess what we could call leadership development for 35 years now. So what that looks like, it takes a lot of different shapes. Um, as I spend more time on this planet and gather more experience and the wisdom that comes from it, I seem to be spending more of my time doing executive coaching, in concert, oftentimes with um, culture change journeys for companies, and of course, I do keynote speaking and all of that. But everything that I do is really about helping people to understand that leadership is not about your position or your title. Leadership is about our ability to step up and influence people to change things for the better. So nowadays, I'm working on a new book. It'll be book number 6, and I'm like I said, doing a lot of coaching, doing some consulting, longer term engagements for companies to help them. And this is really the essence of what I do. And I think it's part of the message that you responded to when we first met, is really helping people, the organizations and people in them, to operationalize love as a business strategy. And, we are not generally accustomed to using the word love and business in the same sentence. But if there's one thing that I've learned in my 3.5 decades of doing this work, is that leadership, great leadership, it's true in any context, but business is my playground as it is yours. Love is the foundation of what great leadership is, and it's always been true. We just haven't really talked about it in that way, at least not to the degree that we could or should. So that's what I've been doing. Long answer to a short question.
Yeah. You've been, so 35 years. 35 years is quite a long. Were they even developing leaders 35 years ago? Like, was that a thing? You hear about all the time now, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
30, 35 years ago, were they like, wait, you do what? You're gonna.
Yeah, man. So 35 years ago is nothing. I mean, it's leadership is something that has been important to us human beings for for as long as we've been trying to influence each other, which is forever. The language changes, the emphasis changes, but the topic remains the same because it's always been important and always will be important. And there are some elements of leadership that shift with the times. That's driven by technology and how we reach out to each other and how we connect or don't connect. And there are elements of it that are universally true across the time, the span of time, and across cultures and across industries. And back when way back when I started, when I was a much younger man.
I can't wait.
In the late 80s, basically, was when I first started focusing on this. We had people like Tom Peters. Tom Peters in Search of Excellence. This was the In Search of Excellence was the first like mega best-selling business book. Tom Peters and Bob Waterman. Tom went on to become, no exaggeration, the most significant leadership guru of our age. And there are people now that have never heard his name, which is really quite remarkable. He's one of my mentors. I was vice president of his company in the 90s. And, he kind of started to bring this discussion to the mainstream. Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner, who are the authors of the Leadership Challenge. That book was first written 40 years ago. And the research started 40 years ago. It's now in its 5th edition, I believe. Also, two of my mentors, and also, we're actually working on some stuff together right now, which is really cool. So, yeah, the leadership discussion, it is not new. And what's so fascinating about it is that every generation says, we need this now more than ever. It's always been true. It's like, and we were hearing it again in COVID, right? Now more than ever. I mean, people were reaching out to me and saying, Farber, because I wrote a book called Love is Just Damn Good Business, right? And people were reaching out and saying, Farber, your timing is so great. This was during COVID. Because love is so important now, and we're all seeing that. We're seeing how important it is for each other. We've got to reach out, through Zoom and support each other. Yes, we did, and yes, love was really important now more than ever. No, always. And my timing wasn't so great. The book came out in 2019, not 2020, But all of a sudden, it was like, because of the circumstances, we started looking at each other and saying, oh yeah, this is really important. Every generation has its version of that. I mean, we live in a polarized country, in a polarized world. Here in the US, polarized country, look at over the world, it's the same kind of thing. So then we say, well, we need leadership now. Yes, as always. And in the business world, which again is where I have chosen to play versus the political world, for example, in the business world, there's one thing that at least so far has remained universally true, and that's starting to tremble a bit. And what that is that so far, every business has been made up of entirely of human beings.
Who knew?
And therefore there's a universal element to it. And now, the big question is, what role is AI going to play in that? What role would it play? Will it play in our businesses, in the cultures of our businesses, in what leadership looks like? So we're going to have to look at it again. But one thing will not change, which is that leadership is going to be important. It just might look a little bit different in the way that we implement it.
Let's
So
talk.
it's an endlessly fascinating subject.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I want to hit on this idea because at the beginning you were talking about this idea of positional power, and like that's not leadership, that's just you sitting on a throne with a crown or whatever it is, and really leadership is something different. This whole idea of love is a concept you drill now. I'm interested to know, like, because 35 years ago, there was still a very, the baby boomers were still very into leadership positions, running companies and doing what they were doing and being the meat of the corporate workforce. They were a positional power hierarchy type mentality people, right? Generation. Um, were you preaching this whole love thing to them at the time too? And was it
Yeah,
received? How was it received?
yeah, it's a great question. So the answer is yes, but maybe not quite so overtly. So here's what it looks like kind of generationally. Yes, the baby boomer generation, was raised by people primarily in the preceding generation that came out of a very hierarchical approach to business, right? The top down classic kind of pyramid structure where the you always it was always about who you worked for and and executing what your boss told you to do. But it was the boomers that started talking about, it was the shift from what organizational you know development people refer to as the shift from theory X style of business to theory Y. So theory X was the top down kind of manufacturing model applied to humans. And theory Y was the people oriented model. It was the boomers that brought that in, like the aforementioned Tom Peters, et cetera, where we started talking about, that leadership is about, comes down to human relationship and creating an environment for people to really thrive. And that's when we started, talking about bringing in quality circles and cross-functional teams, and let's get everybody involved in decision making. That was the boomers that started it. So the people-oriented approach to business was proven out pretty early on in the 80s and early 90s and all that. However, you didn't hear the word love very much. But when, at least not on the in the broadcast mode, I'll tell you where you would hear it: one on one, or just having a conversation with people. So Kouzes and Posner uh, developed from their observation, from their research, a model of leadership that included a practice that they called encouraging the heart. Because what they found was that great leaders, among other things, encouraged the heart, which means they recognized people and celebrated accomplishments. But they didn't say love. Heart was there, but love wasn't there. So it was like a parenthetical thing. It was kind of like, yeah, we encourage each other. We we celebrate with each other. And really, it's really kind of all about love. It really is love. It was like, kind of whispered, and, but when you sat down and talked to people, when I sat down and talked to people and I said, tell me about this, this leader that you work for in your company. And, oftentimes you'd hear, I'm not so sure I want to say what I really feel about that person. But then every so often you'd hear these words: I love her. I love him, with no hesitation, right? So just sitting down and talking person to person, that word gets used a lot. Tell me about your company. Oh, I love it here. Love, 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 love. Everywhere you look. I'm telling you, man, when you put it on your radar screen, you're going to start hearing this everywhere. And it was true back then. It's true now. So all I've done really in my work is said, look, I didn't invent love in business. I've observed it. So I'm just shining the spotlight on it and saying, look, fellow humans, love is a deeply human experience, probably the most powerful experience that we share. And to say that it has no place in business is, first of all, stupid, but even more important, it's just wrong. It's inaccurate. It has a very strong place. So what would happen if we just paid more attention to it and became more intentional about it? So instead of it being kind of a nice thing that happens every so often if you get lucky, why don't we say, hey, look, our competitive advantage is going to come from our customers loving what we do for them, right? I mean, you're a brand guy. A powerful brand inspires and evokes an emotional connection with itself, with the company that it represents. And the really powerful brands, you get people that are loyal to brands because they love the product. They love the experience. They love the image, whatever it is. So why not, as a company, whatever the company is, why not say, let's make that our standard. Let's, with conscious intent, create a product, a service, or a combination of the two, an experience that our customers are going to love, that our clients are going to love, because that's where our competitive advantage will come from. That's where the loyalty is going to come from if they love us. So it's about raising the standard and not just hoping that it'll happen. Let's put it on the agenda, as it were. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's not simply a matter of making it part of our marketing campaign, a la Subaru or Southwest Airlines, or companies that use the word love in their marketing. That's fine, but really it's about taking a step back and saying, okay, if we want to create that experience for customers, we have to create a culture that people love working in. Because again, what I've noticed, and I'm certainly not the only one to notice this, when you go in and talk to companies where people love working there, they do better work. This is where the whole employee engagement thing started from. It's like, why is it important? Because employees who are engaged are more productive and you have less turnover and higher innovation and all that stuff. There's plenty of research on that. Well, isn't love engagement at its highest level? So why don't we create an environment that people love working in? How's that for a standard? And then to back it up one more step, it becomes very personal for the leaders, positional or otherwise, that say, well, if I'm going to create that kind of culture or contribute to that kind of culture, it's got to start here. If I don't love this business, my colleagues, my customers, myself first, then all I'm doing is at best faking it. So it becomes very personal very quickly. But again, to your original question, Skot, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's just the emphasis on it that I think is new. And I can take credit for being some part of that emphasis, but there's a lot of people that are focusing on this.
Well, people don't. I don't know. Maybe they do, but I don't know. Businesses are going to go, guys. We have a problem in this company. I don't think we love each other enough. I think there's. I don't. I think we need to bridge. I think we need to find more love here. Who's a coach consultant that we can bring in to help us love each other more? Steve, that guy. Like, he's a love guy. Let's bring him. It's like, I don't think this dialogue happens. So,
well,
what do people, what's the thing that people are noticing they need, and you bring in the solution of love as the solution? What is the pain? What is the thing they're experiencing where they're like, we need this guy?
Yeah. So it's a great question, because actually I do have clients that that do say that.
You do?
Sure.
They're perfect for you then.
Well, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to get hired by a company that says love is bullshit.
Yeah, it's so true.
They're not going to hire me.
True. Yeah. You don't want those people anyway.
But it's an important question. So here's what I've noticed. So yeah, it's not so much, hey man, things suck around here, we need more love. It's the usual pain points, right? It's something is off in the culture post-COVID. I've heard this many times. We used to have a great culture, and then it got blown apart during the COVID era. Now people are coming back to the office in many cases, and what happened to our culture? So the pain point is we've lost our spark. Pain point is reflected in low engagement, high levels of cynicism, high turnover. Feels like I'm having to work harder to get people to engage and be creative. Again, all the usual pain points. And you're right. It's not that the solution is so obvious. It's like, oh, we're having a problem in our culture, whatever it might look like, and however whatever words we use to describe it. So therefore, we need love. What happens is this. This is in my experience. So I've written several books, starting with The Radical Leap, which came out 20 years ago this year, and it's an evergreen book. I still there are people reading it for the first time right now. LEAP is a framework that stands for love, energy, audacity, and proof. So I started writing about love 20 years ago, and every book that I've written comes back to that theme in some way or another. So what will happen is this. People will read, let's say, The Radical Leap, or they'll hear me speak on the subject or whatever. And oftentimes, I'm not going to say it happens all the time, certainly, but oftentimes it serves as a confirmation for what they already knew, but hadn't quite put their finger on it. So what I've realized is I'm not in the business of convincing anybody of anything. I am in the confirmation business. So people will read this book. So here's The Radical Leap. If you're watching it, that's what it looks like. They'll read this book and go like, oh yeah, yeah, that's right. I've always felt that. I just thought I was crazy. So here's this guy, this author coming along saying, no, that impulse that you've had, that's the right impulse. So now why don't you act on that? So it serves as a solution for people that are experiencing that pain, want to do something about it, and resonate with this approach, right? So when all those things come together, that's where I can help. So it's, again, if somebody says to me, hey, listen, we got this turnaround situation at our company. It really sucks. And I'm the CEO, and these people need to be fixed. And, this love thing, I don't know. But, why don't you come in and give it a whirl? I'm probably going to say no. But if somebody says to me, take another CEO, for example, um, this is the approach that I believe in and that I can get behind, then sure, let's give it a whirl. Because otherwise, we fall into the category of I don't know how many other approaches to culture change and organizational development we've seen over the years. It's the flavor of the month, and you throw something at it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When there's a commitment to it, we have a much better chance of making a difference. Now, the other thing is that a lot of times, and I know several CEOs in my through my work and who've read this book that have made incredible changes in their company just by virtue of applying the principles, never engaging me personally, but just reading the book and applying the principles. And I've met lots of other people who resonated with these ideas who are not CEOs, but said, all right, I'm not going to change the whole company, but this is the way I choose to lead in my piece of this company, in my project, on my team, in my community, whatever it might be. Those are the kind of people that have become kind of part of this, what I call extreme leadership community. And there's lots and lots of people like that out there. I can't prove this, but my theory is that most people already believe that love is good business. The problem is most people don't believe that most people believe that love is good business. So they don't do anything about it. They just kind of lurk in the shadows. So again, all I'm doing is coming along with a flashlight and saying, "No, man, that's right. Step up." There's lots of other people who feel that same way. And then once it starts, it can really build momentum.
Well, that's when it catches fire. Yeah. I mean, it's like this person over here is kind of like, oh, I wish people learned that this love thing is a good business. And this guy's over here on the same team going, I wish people knew that this love thing was good business. And they're just like not talking to each other. And then one person accidentally slips up and the other person goes, wait, what'd you say? Oh, yeah. You think that too? Like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
Well, maybe we should talk about this thing. And, shedding some light on it using your little flashlight analogy there. It's this idea of bringing it to the forefront, letting people know that it's safe, that we can be aware of this, and we're already practicing some of these principles. And it's really just putting a name to those things and building it into the culture. Can you explain the LEAP framework for the listeners really quick?
Sure. So love, energy, audacity, and proof. And each one of those is preceded by a verb. So the idea is to cultivate love, as we've been talking about, generate energy, inspire audacity, and provide proof. So energy is that that juice that you bring to your work, that the enthusiasm and the excitement around whatever it is that you're doing. So the leader's job, and by the way, I use the phrase extreme leadership because leadership, when it's really done, is extreme. So it's not about leadership as a position, that says it on my business card or I sit on the org chart. It's an extreme act. It should feel that way. So the extreme leader, which in my estimation is just another way of saying real leader, generates energy. So it puts more energy into the environment than they suck out of it. And we've all known people that can suck the life out of a place just by walking into a room. So generate energy is the second part of LEAP. Inspire audacity. Audacity I define as a bold and blatant disregard for normal constraints in order to change things for the better. So it's not think outside the box, it's what box. It's the audacity to do something really significant. So the extreme leader inspires audacity in themselves and in the people around them. And it's about challenging the way things are. It's about having a bold vision for what we could create together if we really put our minds to it, and inspiring other people to do the same. And finally, proof is the not only the results that we get, but it's also proving that we mean what we say by holding ourselves accountable to be congruent with our actions. In other words, we need to do what we say we will do. Or as we've said over the years, walk your talk, practice what you preach, lead by example, etc. So I need to prove my words through my actions, and I need to prove the validity of our actions through the results that we get. So love, energy, audacity, and proof. I like to think of it as a framework that you could apply to anything. So, for example, whatever it is you're trying to do in your company, whatever strategic objectives you have, whatever plan you're executing on, whatever product you're rolling out, whatever it might be, if you can cultivate love for that thing, if you can generate energy around it, if you can inspire people to be audacious in the pursuit of making it happen and prove that you're making progress along the way, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have a better chance of getting it done successfully.
I dig that, Steve. I dig that. I think that there's some gold, and I think that can apply to just anything we do in life. So when you talked about this principle and drill on that in Radical Leap, principles that are evergreen, that stick with us forever. 20 years, man. Like I just launched my book in December. And sometimes people say, oh, sometimes you look back on some of the first things you did and you're like, oh, that was garbage. I'm glad I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But this thing's still alive and like generating ideas, and so much, in fact, that you are making a push this year on the anniversary, which is super cool. What drove that? Why are you doing this? And how do we take advantage?
Yeah, it's been a really deeply gratifying to see that when this book first launched in 20 was it 04, 20 years ago. That's my advanced math skills at work there.
Congratulations, well done.
It had quite a splash. I mean, it was a Reader's Choice Award in Fast Company magazine. Got a lot of coverage, and I remember my biggest concern about the book, in addition to any concern that any author has when they first publish a book, is like it's scary, right? Because you don't know how people are going to respond to it. But one of my biggest concerns was that I didn't think that I was concerned that the title wouldn't live up, the content would not live up to the title. Radical, the radical leap. Because to me, this idea of love in business wasn't radical. It was obvious. So I thought, well, people are going to read this and say, oh, that's not so it's obvious. There's nothing radical about that. Well, it turns out it was pretty radical for a lot of people. So that was 20 years ago. And it's the same response today. I still, I have clients that I started working with in the last year because they just read this book last year, this year. So it's kind of amazing. So what I thought was, okay, it's 20 years. It's kind of a, it's kind of falls in the category of like a cult favorite, but there's many, many more people that have never heard of this than have. I mean, that's the simple math of it, right? So I thought, okay, why don't we put some more attention on this book? So one of the things that I've started to do is I'm interviewing people that have read this book over the years, CEOs and senior executives that have read the book recently or even 20 years ago, and I want to hear their stories and what they're up to with it. But I want people to read it, so we're giving it away. We're giving away the audio book of The Radical Leap for free, and I recorded it a while back. It's my voice on the book. I've gotten great feedback on it. So if I would just love people to listen to the book. So if it's at radicalleap.org, you can sign up and get the book for free. Start listening to it right away.
Wow, that's awesome.
And if people want an actual a hard copy of the book, they can order it there as well. But at the very least, you can get a free copy of the audiobook. And my thinking is, I'm in the confirmation business. So the more people listen to this, the more people we're going to find that are saying, yes, that's me. And the more people that step up and we can connect them with each other, we're going to be able to accomplish some pretty cool stuff together. That's the intention.
That's awesome. What are you going to do with these interviews? Can we get a hold of those too?
Yeah. So we'll be, the plan is that we'll be doing them as LinkedIn live interviews. And then of course we will what's the word we like to use? Repurpose them as podcasts. So I have a podcast which has been kind of on the shelf for the last year and a half or so. It's called the Love is Just Damn Good Business Podcast. So we'll probably start, putting it out through there as well. Just make it available in as many places as we can.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Yes, man. Repurpose, Repurpose. So if we want to understand when those live, those are going to go, the LinkedIn lives, how do we get out? We just sign up on the website, or we connect with you on LinkedIn?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. And then you can find me at stevefarber.com. And we'll post some links and some, links to the videos and whatnot in all those places.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, it's been a treat. It's been a treat talking to you. I loved hearing you 4 years ago and loved listening to you now. So
thank you, Scott.
Thanks for the insights, and good luck on the re-promotion of Radical Leap, because there's probably a few people that haven't heard about it yet.
Yeah, I think just a few. Yeah.
Just a few. So let's get it out there. All of you, go check out the book, and it's free on audio for all those. I have clients that they plow through books. I'm like, how are you plowing through the book? They're like, I listen to everything on audio, and I do it while I'm walking my dog. I'm like, okay, then I like to mark up my stuff. I like to mark up.
Yeah, me too. I do a little bit of both myself.
Do you? Okay, cool.
Well, thank you for the invite, Scott. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, man, it's really good hearing for you. Good luck in all you're doing.
Thanks.
Steve wants you to operationalize love as a business strategy. Operationalize love. So when we think about that, that's pretty radical. And I don't mean like 80s radical, like radical. I mean like that's extreme. That's leadership. And when we talk about getting people engaged and getting people behind our purpose, our vision, our mission, the values, all the things we're doing, those are feelery type things. And when we have engagement, we have this idea of people saying, oh, I love that guy, or, oh, I love that girl, or I love that person, or I love this team, or I love this project, or I love this company, then we have something. I love this culture. I love this thing that we've built. When people feel a part of that, this camaraderie comes, and we can connect together. When we think about all the normal problems in business, talk about cynicism, silos, turnover, gossip, lack of trust, poor communication, all these things have to do with this idea of like, there's a love component that's not quite gelling. There's something there that's missing. And when we can generate this common goal of love, then I think that there's something there for us all to hold on to. This idea of leap. When we talk about love, energy, audacity, and proof. Love, energy, audacity, and proof. And practice those elements in our lives, I think we'll see a difference. Thank you, Steve, for the gift. Everybody, please go check out radicalleap.org. So radicalleap, all one word, .org, and you can get your hands on a free audio version of the book. I've got mine, so I hope you will follow suit and get yours as well. Thanks, Steve, again, for being on the show. You're awesome, man. It was great. Good energy. And thanks, everybody. If you want to find out more information about me or check out the show notes where there's going to be more information and links to the things referenced in this episode, visit skotwaldron.com. And lastly, I'm asking for a little bit of love, just a little bit. So please take a moment, follow, rate the show. The algorithms like that, and it helps me get the word out. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And until next time, stay unlocked.